Good morning, everyone. Welcome to morning meeting. Today we're going to learn how to clean our bird feeders. Yes, Maeve, our Merlin Falcon, is joining us today. I am filming by myself, so the camera's over there. I do have it set so I can see when we get comments. So probably I'll say good morning to everyone and answer all your questions after I kind of run through the cleaner, just so I don't get bleach on my phone and stuff like that. But good morning and thank you for joining us. Maeve, our Merlin, is clearly quite chatty, so I will be more or less talking around her. Because I am outside, let me know if you guys are having a hard time hearing me today. I'll try to move the camera a little bit closer. I just don't want to spook Maeve. So I'm going to just double check that the comments will show up. Good morning. Good morning, Natalie from Gray. Are you going to let me move this a little bit closer? Easy. See how that goes. Yeah. So here I have my easy. Turn this around so you guys can see. Good morning, Andy from West Henrietta. Wow. Me and my fiance are actually both from Brockport and went to school there, so that's awesome. Welcome. Good morning, Chuck from Rhode Island. So we have our bird feeder that is soaking in wet, soapy water. I just use Dawn. And then a bucket of bleach in water. It's a 1-to-10 ratio. This is actually basically how we do our dishes here. Yes. At the Center for Wildlife. We let it soak in warm, soapy water, and then we'll rinse it off with that warm water, put it into the cold 1-to-10 bleach ratio, and then we'll actually rinse it again with warm water to get that bleach off. So this has been soaking for about 15-20 minutes, just to try to loosen up the biological stuff. So we have the cleaning side of it and then the sanitizing. So they are two separate steps. If you're really in a pinch, you can do one or the other. But the biggest reason why we recommend cleaning our bird feeders, yes, cleaning our bird feeders is especially if it's a highly, one that has a lot of birds to it, a highly trafficked one, is because just like human buffets, they do have to be cleaned to minimize disease. So a really common thing that we see here in our medical clinic is songbirds that will come in with finch eye. It's essentially a conjunctivitis for birds. So it's not just finches that get it, but they are one of the more common birds that do get them because they're common backyard bird feeders. That's the biggest reason why we want to clean our bird feeders. Good morning, Rebecca and Xander from Plymouth. Yes, so chatty. So this is basically the step to do it. You want to clean, get all the biological stuff, especially because a lot of the things we're putting in our bird feeders are like seeds and stuff like that are really fatty. So if they start to get gross and congealed, and that's really a sign that you really want to clean your bird feeder. If you have like orioles and those type of species, we generally don't totally recommend using jellies just because we see the other side of those jellies. Even though they really enjoy them, they do get very sticky and on birds, and we very often have to give birds baths here in our medical clinic that come to us because they get trapped because they're sticky. But depending on how often your bird feeder is trafficked, it's going to depend on how often you really need to clean it. If it's a highly trafficked one, that could mean every single time that you clean your bird feeder, or every time you refill it. just to minimize that disease. And the same goes actually for if you have like a water pan or something like that. They really do prefer clean water to bathe in, and those baths can contain algae and stuff like that. But a really easy way that you can kind of help with that is if you have it in the sun. So the sun is actually a way that we will dry off a lot of our stuff here at the Center for Wildlife. Like when we do it, all the ambassadors get their big enclosure cleans. We'll put their water pans out and get that bug, Maeve. We'll put the water pans in the sun to dry because we do want them to sun bleach. This is another way that you can try to keep your things nice and clean, because the sun will obviously allow it to dry out, and then it'll bleach out the bottom of the water pan, which is pretty cool. Natalie, is Maeve usually so chatty? Yes. So Maeve is a Merlin Falcon. She's been with us for a couple years now. She's about 3. So she actually came to us as a youngster. She was about 6 months old, and she was hit by a car, unfortunately. So falcons have long, pointed wings. They're really good at hunting birds. That's pretty well across the board with our falcons. They prefer birds. They're well adapted to hunt birds. So they have those long, pointed wings that help them make sharp turns, as they're flying and making pretty acrobatic moves. So she broke her wrist bone, essentially, which means that she cannot make those really sharp turns that she would need to be able to hunt successfully. They also have been known to cooperatively hunt, so that's another reason why she wouldn't be able to be released. But because she was a youngster, that's partially why she is so chatty. She does have a physical injury, but she's also partially imprinted on humans. So we're always talking, and so she just wants to be part of the conversation. So she's very, very chatty, likes to make sure that her voice is being heard, except it's just very loud. So I'm going to put the phone down for a little bit. Yes, Maeve. Hi, Dad. I'll put the phone down for a bit, and I'll kind of walk you through the steps to clean our bird feeder. Andy, she's quiet today. Last time I saw her, she was really chatty. She's beautiful. Yes, she definitely is. I know. She definitely misses, just like all of our ambassadors, having everyone on site. Easy. There you go. And she's kind of annoyed because she hasn't had her breakfast yet. So the first thing I'm going to do, I already have my buckets with the warm soapy water. That's been sitting for 20 minutes or so. If you have the time, definitely recommend letting it sit overnight just to get that stuff a bit more loosened up. Right. So all bird feeders usually should come apart on the top and the bottom. You just have to figure out how to do it. So this one, it pulls apart on the... This is our bird feeder that we're using today. We are lucky to have Katie, our education specialist, brought her bird feeder in from her house so we could clean it today. So this one pops up from the top. And then we'll unscrew from the bottom. So you really want to try to get everywhere possible to scrub, to get all that grime and stuff like that off, especially all the perches if it's on there. So you really just want to figure out how to deal with your own bird feeder. They're all different. They all have different ways to come off. Sometimes you need a flat head or something like that to get it off. So it really just depends on your personal bird feeder and figuring out how to work with it. So I'm going to start scrubbing, right, Miss Maeve? So while I'm scrubbing, we can talk a bit about Maeve. Merlins are specialized bird hunters, so she would not be using this bird feeder, but she would be possibly hunting near it. because they do like, especially those little songbirds, to eat. She will eat small mammals and stuff like that, but she really does prefer birds. So we do supplement her diet as well as Perry, our peregrine falcon's diet, with quail every other day, just because they would normally be getting that in the wild. They really do need those nutrients. She really definitely prefers them. They're her favorite days, so she gets one of those every other day. Right, Miss Maeve. Don't. Hey, you're fine. You're okay. So these guys are one of our local falcons. They don't generally see them a lot though, just because they are a bit more in the wood species. So they sometimes can be a little bit hard to find sometimes. Gross. Yes, I know that bug is getting to you. So she is the middle species of falcons, size-wise. We do have peregrines around here who are our largest, and then the American kestrels are a little bit smaller than Maeve, not by much though. Right, Miss Maeve? We definitely want to make sure you get all the nooks and crannies on these, especially around the perches and anywhere where they're definitely going to be sitting, just to try to get all that grime and stuff out of there. Right? You're so good. Now, like I said, this is really important just to make sure your birds are healthy. The finch eye is pretty much a conjunctivitis just for birds. We do see it quite often in our medical clinic, just to keep your local birds healthy, essentially. Let me see. Trying to get down into some of these cracks. Gross, Maeve. Let's see. Almost there. Right? You're okay. Yeah, now she's chatty, Andy. Chuck, ever get Osprey's patients? Not very often. They tend to be a pretty high-stress species when they do come into care. If they are able to be captured, it means that they're really not doing well. So we don't get them very often. Once in a while we do get them. We also don't get eagles very often. And if we do, we usually have to transfer them at the moment, just because they do tend to be a bit more high stress. We have one big enclosure that really would be suitable for them. So that can be used as either an eagle enclosure or a flight enclosure when we're test flying patients to make sure that they are ready to be released. But we just don't get them very often because they're pretty high stress patients. Jome, what's the difference between a falcon and a hawk? So there's a couple really cool differences. I'll see if she'll let me show you. Easy. So I don't know if you can see it in the video, but Maeve on her beak. I'm trying to show them your beak. She has the main hook of her beak, and then right behind it, there's kind of like a little tooth or a little notch. So that allows our falcons. Yeah, so all of our falcons have that. So that's gonna help them break the necks of birds as they're flying. They'll hunt on the wing, which means that they're gonna hunt as they're flying around. You're right, Miss Maeve. So that's one thing that falcons have that hawks don't. Maeve also has very long pointed wings, where a hawk is going to have kind of like little fingers sticking out on the edge of the feathers. And then falcons have these really long toes. There we go. So they're not as strong as like our hawks or our owl's feet. Especially like our peregrines, who are the fastest animal on the planet. They put their talons into essentially a little fist and just punch their prey out of the sky with them. So they're not as strong as those guys, but they still can get the job done. But those are a couple of the biggest adaptations that our falcons have that our hawks do not. Yeah, Chuck, she does turn around. She hasn't had her breakfast yet. So she's kind of like, what's going on right now? This is not cool, Mom. Coopers and sharpshins are actually hawks. They are smaller species of hawks around here. They're closer to the size of like a broadwing hawk than a red-tailed hawk is our largest hawk that we have around here. They're one of the largest buteos. So the sharpshins and the coopers are much smaller, but they are considered hawks actually. Good morning, Ryan. Yes, and she definitely has a lot to say, and she makes sure that we know that she has a lot to say all the time. Right? Yeah. And our falcons also have this great eyesight because they are hunting birds. Imagine they're moving fast, their prey's moving fast, so their eyesight is adapted to help them do that. And then they can actually, our peregrines, so right on the top of her beak, you can see her nares or her nostrils. So our peregrines can actually close them, just like nose plugs, when they are diving at that 300 miles an hour. Beth asked about kites. Kites are more, like in the south, I know of like Mississippi kites. And I believe kites are a raptor. I'm not really familiar with them besides the name. We do not have any species of kites around here. I'm not sure what their adaptations compared to like our falcons, our hawks are. So, sorry I don't have a better answer for you, but I'll have to go look that up. Thank you. Beth, unfortunately, her breakfast is inside. We got a couple woodcock patients, so I had to stop and pick up worms this morning. So I kind of picked up worms after the store opened and then came right in to get ready to show you guys. So unfortunately, her food is inside this morning, otherwise I would feed her. Yeah. Cool, so I'm going to put you guys down and I'm going to give our thing a quick rinse, just so I can see get a better look of what's still attached. I do have our hose from our Ed Hall out, so hopefully Miss Maeve doesn't get spooked too much. Amy, the singer's in your yards. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so Maeve talks more than normal Merlins, but she is obviously very, very chatty because she is imprinted on humans. Good morning, Teresa. Welcome. Cool. So I'm going to put you guys down just so I can rinse the feeder off quickly. Yeah. I know you have so much to say. Easy. Like, now you're gonna be quiet? Of course you are. Oh, you're so good. Almost there. Got most of it out. Just need a couple more scrapes and then we're going to be almost ready for the next stage. Be good. Alright. So again, it is warm, soapy water, just with Dawn. And then a bleach bucket with cold water with a ratio of 1 to 10. So when you're doing this, you don't need as big of a soap bucket, but you definitely want to make sure you have enough bleach to be able to submerge at least a good chunk of it. If you cannot submerge all of it, you definitely want to flip it. So we recommend letting it sit for about 10 minutes or so, and then if you need to flip it, that's when you can do that. So the cleaning, or the Dawn again, is just submerging it, trying to get everything loose and grow soft, the biologicals, whether that's food grime or that's poop from the birds. So just want to make sure you get all of that off first before it goes into the bleach. So the bleach will actually be deactivated if there's biologicals in it when it goes into the bleach solution. And then it also gets broken down if it's warm water, which is why we want to use the warm soapy water to clean it off, to loosen everything up, and then the cold water to put it in. Great. Of course, now you're going to be nice and quiet. I know, it's a little buggy this morning. Right. So that might be good. Almost done, Maeve. Right. So the reason why you want to bleach or rinse the soapy water off, again, to make sure that all that biological stuff is off of it before you put it into the bleach. But you also want to make sure that you're not making any dangerous concoctions for yourself. So something that came up, especially during quarantine when people were trying to find bleach, couldn't find it, was people were mixing Dawn and bleach with their own dishes, which actually creates ammonia. So you definitely want to make sure that it is well rinsed before you do that, so you're not putting yourself in danger. So I'm just going to stick this in for now, and then I'm going to flip it in about 10 minutes. So after it sits in the bleach, I'll let it sit for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to rinse it. Put it in the bleach, flip it in 10 minutes, and then after it's flipped, has sat for another 10 minutes, then I'll rinse it off with the warm water. So that warm water is important just to make sure that you're not getting, yeah. Because bleach does need that warm water to break down. Yeah. So I'll put it in there, let it go for a little while. And then I'm actually going to let it sit out in the sun for the morning, afternoon, just to make sure that it is fully sanitized. So we'll go back to Miss Mabel that's sitting. Sorry guys, I'm just going back to answers. Amy, I have chihuahuas. So chihuahua would be way too big for these guys. They're gonna get songbirds. Definitely smaller guys. So she only weighs less than a quarter pound. She's only about not even 200 grams. So she's very light and tiny. Remember, those feet are not strong, or as strong as a hawk or an owl's. So they're not gonna take your chihuahua unless it was like a tiny newborn puppy, maybe. But a full-grown chihuahua is gonna be way too big for these guys. You would want to be more cautious, especially at night. With like our great horned owls, they can take food that's about, they'll prefer like a skunk, which can reach about 15 pounds or so. So definitely be more careful with our bigger raptors, but definitely not Merlin Falcon, if that's what you have. Margaret, I'm glad they're so chatty. Gives my little birds warning. Yes. So she would, even though they are more of a deeper in the woods species generally, bird feeders are like a McDonald's for her and all of our other raptors. So you the chattiness will definitely give them away. And they do hunt cooperatively, which is pretty cool. So one will flush out the birds, and then the other will attack them from the side or above, which is pretty incredible. And Bertram really does call for attention. Yes. So he also hasn't had his breakfast. No one has quite yet this morning. And he saw me walk by. So he's ready for his breakfast and for some playtime. Good morning, Michelle. Amy, that's definitely a good idea if you know you have raptors near you. Amy says since she moved here, she doesn't feed birds due to the raptors. It's definitely something to be considerate of. A lot of times birders don't generally love bird feeders just because they do cause disease. Yes. Hi, Aunt Cindy. It's been so cool seeing all of our families jumping into these. Yeah, so the bird feeders, cause all that disease with the finch eye if they're not cleaned often and properly. But they also attract predators. So it's definitely something to be mindful of if you do have bird feeders. You can't be mad at the hawk for taking your birds when you're putting it out, just like a buffet for them. It is the circle of life. They need food just like these guys and our songbirds need food. This is definitely something to be mindful of if you do put a bird feeder out. Just remember the food chains going on that you're attracting. What, Perry? Good morning. It's chatty too. Good morning, Elaine from South Portland. Yes, Amy. So our bigger owls are definitely starting to fledge right now. We do have our raptors will spend a significant time with mom and dad. They'll stay pretty much through the summer, just because unlike our songbirds who are just learning how to find, seeds and berries, our raptors do have to learn how to hunt. So we currently actually have two babies in with our Great Horned Owl ambassadors. They're currently fostering them. So they're learning how to be owls from Gaia and Galileo. And then we have a baby barred owl, an owlet, in with one of our patients actually right now. Because we had the baby in with Byron and Fern behind me. Our two barred owl ambassadors, and then because we will be moving over into our new facility soon, and this building, the education building, will be moving next door. So we decided to put the baby in with the female patient that we did receive, and she's taken very well to the baby. So we're very excited that the baby will be able to learn all that. And then Violet, our turkey vulture, is also actually fostering. So we have a lot of foster parents going on right now here at the center, which is really exciting because that means that those babies can be released. But Mom and Dad are still hanging around, so they may be leaving the nest right now, but they may not be able to really survive on their own quite yet. So they're starting to get their flight feathers in. They're learning how to fly and to move around. And then they will be learning to hunt as the summer goes by. Yes, Maeve. Yes, Chuck. Dawn and bleach are deadly. Definitely be careful, so that you don't make yourself really sick. Beth, when they hunt, they share their food. So what they'll do is because of course a lot of our songbirds are pretty highly populated. They're not going to be too sparse because they're not hunting for meat. They're just trying to find seeds and berries, which are much more common than it would be for Maeve to find a songbird. So they will take a group. So one will flush out the prey, and then they will take them from the side or above another bird. Because she is smaller, she doesn't need as much of food. And then they, of course, don't eat every single day. So they won't catch food every single day in the wild. So they... What? So chatty. Yeah. So if it is a big enough food, they may share. Because she is smaller. She doesn't eat as much of a food, but like a full robin example would be more than a large food for her. So a robin, for example, could be either her food for a couple days at least, or she could share it. Yes. Yes, thank you, Elaine. Yes, matter of survival, everyone's gotta eat. Oh, that's so cool though, Amy, that you get to hear the babies making noises. They'll hiss and clack. It's really cool to see and hear. Good morning, Louise from Massachusetts. Oh, thank you so much for donating, Anne. That's so sweet of you. And we are a non-profit. We don't receive any state or federal funding. So we're very, very grateful for all the donations and the support that you guys have been giving us, especially through these Facebook Lives. While we haven't been able to go to any of our off-site programs that we would normally be doing. Normally we're off-site going on an adventure every single day with these guys. So we, as much as we also miss seeing all the public and seeing all of our friends off-site, our ambassadors do as well. So we're really excited to start to be able to open it up again as the summer goes on. We are currently still not open for self-guided tours or anything like that. We do have a tour that you can sign up for on our website called Quarantine Tours. So we have a couple days a week where we are offering them at 2 o'clock. You can sign up a group of 10 to come in together. And that's going to be on our website if that is something that you are interested in, while we are currently still trying to figure out how we're going to start to let the public back on site, 'cause we really do miss you all. Right? We are in our little pavilion. So this pavilion can seat 15, 20 people comfortably. During the wintertime, this is where we hold our owl prowls during the winter. But this is actually currently our only area where we can do programming at. So unfortunately, that means that we turn down 100 to 200 classes a year that want to come up and see us here at the center, want to come on site for a program. So we're really excited to be next door. You can see it through the trees over there. Have that classroom space, that nature center where all of our reptiles will be able to be on display. A lot of them right now currently actually live back in our clinic and off display just because we don't have the space to have them out in our tiny little office. So we are really, really grateful for all your donations, especially with how much we are not able to go to programs and stuff right now. Elaine, when they hunt together, are they members of the same family or clan? That is a great question, Elaine. And I'm not actually totally sure. So that's definitely something I'll have to Google, because I know I've heard they will hunt cooperatively. I'm not totally sure on what the relation is. I would guess it's probably like family during trying to figure out like when the babies are fledging and learning how to hunt. That they'll hunt together. A lot of times when the raptors, when they have youngsters, when they're still in the nest, once mom lays her eggs, she's sitting on them, taking care of them. Yes. Dad for a while is the one that's going to get all that food. So once the babies start to fledge and start to hop around the nest, outside of the nest, and start to kind of branch out onto the trees, that's when mom is starting to help. So I'm not totally sure if it's like pairs that will use it, because they will hunt in 2 to 4. So I'm not exactly sure where that other couple are coming from. That's a fantastic question. Thank you so much, Elaine. I'll have to definitely look at that up afterwards. Right? Right? So I'm gonna let Maeve go have her breakfast. It's almost time to take our bucket out, or our bird feeder. Yes. But like I said, I'm about to go flip it, so that the bottom side can get submerged as well. You want to make sure that the whole thing does get submerged into that bleach to sanitize it, and then you can take it out after it's been submerged for 10 minutes fully on both sides, and then rinse it off with cold water, or warm water, warm water, because the cold water doesn't allow the bleach to break down. And then I'm gonna let it sit out in the sun for a little while to get that bleaching from the sun. Because it has to dry somehow before we put our stuff back in it. If we put it in wet, the stuff's gonna get gross, and that completely defeats the purpose of everything we just did. So I'm gonna take it out, flip it, rinse it, let it sit, rinse, put it in to dry. So as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I'm gonna finish this up, but I know Maeve really wants her breakfast, so I'm gonna let her go have that. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow. So have a good day, Maeve. Have a great day, everyone.